hockey fans. It is October, if you can believe that. October 2nd, 2020. This is episode 63 of the Clappercast. I'm Burke, and I'm joined by Sean. Sean, hockey's done, but it'll be back soon, I guess.
I now have an emptiness inside of me that I don't know how to fill.
Oh, you can clearly fill that with MLB playoffs and NFL games, right? It's the same. Oh, and the NBA Finals, I guess, too. I probably won't watch
Any
much.
of that?
Yeah. Maybe MLB. The Blue Jays got knocked out in the wild card. Maybe some NFL because I am in a fantasy pool, but I don't know anything about that game. And then no NBA. So the void is real.
So
Yeah.
for the off season, are we going to switch to like an NFL podcast or something?
Yeah, so that'll probably be about like 2 weeks of content, and then we'll switch back into the draft and any free agent signings and training camps and roster previews and all of that. So,
Okay,
you know,
good. I
we
don't
might
have to
have
learn
like
another sport now.
we might only have like 1 week or something of a different sport to cover. But yeah, I mean the finals are over. Congratulations to the 2019-2020 Tampa Bay Lightning. It was their year for once.
Finally.
Finally.
They can finally. So, we went from like the Sharks being the chokers to the Caps being the chokers. The Lightning were the chokers. Now they're not. Who's next?
Probably the Sharks, maybe.
Again? back to the Sharks, full circle?
No, like as in, I was thinking breaking the choke.
Oh,
label.
breaking the choke. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going with who's going to take over the mantle of choking team next.
Well, probably Nashville. I would say Nashville would be up there. Or Toronto. Toronto is.
No, Toronto's right there. Actually, they're already on board with that one. So I think that's probably a good pick.
They're right on pace. So yeah, maybe let's take kind of a debrief here of the finals. So Tampa ended up winning 4-2 in a 6-game series. So you got it right on the. You got the nail right on the head, didn't you? You predicted
Exactly.
Tampa in
Exactly.
6.
I had a horrible first 3 rounds for predicting, but I got the one that counted, so I'm just gonna wipe the rest away and call it a win.
Yeah, so kudos to you on that. I thought I might have had a chance. I predicted Dallas in 6. I knew that was kind of a bit of a stretch, but yeah, I mean they looked good in game 1, and then
Honestly, they started the series
Not so
strong.
good.
That first say 4 periods or so, 4 or 5 periods were all stars. It took Tampa Bay a few to find their feet.
yeah, and it took Tampa getting some power play opportunities to really kind of help them find their game, because once they got that power play rolling, it was kind of game over for Dallas. And
That was a
Dallas
big turning point.
A lot of irresponsible penalties, and Tampa was just seizing every opportunity that they got.
Yeah. That was a massive turning point in game. Was it game 2? Tampa got a couple of early power play goals that put them ahead.
Yeah, I think in game 2, Dallas took like 3 or 4 penalties in the first or something like that.
3 penalties in the first. Tampa Bay got 2 power play goals, and that was a major turning point for the series. It was pretty much all Tampa Bay after that.
Yeah, and Dallas just they looked flat at certain points, and then I mean that's kind of always a two-way street where they look flat, but Tampa was also dominating for large stretches of games where
they controlled the game
Dallas
like
would
no
go,
other.
Not even no exaggeration here, but Dallas would go like 12, 13 minutes without a shot, and it was just all Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
There was a shift. I can't remember if it was game 3. I think it might have been game 3, because that was kind of the mini blowout game, right? Where Tampa just is probably like the best hockey that a team had played in the entire playoffs. They were just so dominant. They had like 2+ minutes of like zone time or something. It was just insane. Like
Probably would have been
Just
sometime around the second
remarkable.
period of that game then, because that was the one that they just absolutely lit it up.
Yeah, it really just it was just a team that was firing on all cylinders and no
Honestly,
real
there was very little that Dallas could even do to counter what Tampa Bay was doing. Dallas was getting kind of decimated. A lot of their good defensive players, especially their forwards, were getting taken out by injury. Tampa Bay was taking advantage of that, and they were just dominating every single facet of the game.
Yeah, yeah. Dallas had no Radek Fax. Blake Como only played 2 games. He got hit by, I believe it was McDonough hit him, like an open ice suicide pass kind of situation, and just kind of blindsided. It was a clean hit, but he blindsided him, and he was out for the rest of the series. And yeah, losing those 2 guys, I think, was really huge for them because those are 2 guys that play in the middle 6 and kill penalties and do that heavy aggressive forecheck
and I mean that was
are really key to Dallas's game.
Exactly, that was one area that we talked about Dallas maybe being able to take advantage, was having a little bit of that depth in their lineup. And if the depth's all hurt, then it's hard to really take advantage. It's hard to really find any way to get advantage over Tampa Bay because you're stuck playing an injured Sagan, Radulov, and Ben, and Pavelski and Perry even more than they already were.
Yeah, and Rupe Hintz was also hurt for the last 2 games of the series, and he's
a major energy player for them.
That secondary scoring, fast speed, generating chances all the time. Plays on power play too. So missing that guy, missing a lot of those middle forwards was huge. And yeah, I mean, I think you made a good point there, where a lot of these older guys had to play a lot of minutes, and you really saw it especially in Game 6 and near the end of the game when Dallas tightened up their bench. They looked so slow.
Yeah,
they were just exhausted.
Well, even throughout all of Game 6, like they went full Vancouver Canucks against Vegas in Game 7 because they had 10 shots halfway into the third period. They had I think they had one good stretch or one good power play where they got a handful of shots that put them kind of at a more respectable number, but there was just nothing going all game for them. And even in like those last 5 minutes when you'd hope that, they would really just start firing and really start to, trying to go all out to get something going, they could not get by Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay was just stopping them. They couldn't even get anything going in the zone.
Yeah, they played so well. Kind of one of the things that I thought Dallas might have the edge on was like the active defense, and we kind of saw a little bit of that from, in some of the games, but Tampa Bay really did a good job at pressuring the puck carrier like early. When Dallas was coming into the defensive zone, just pressuring them and forcing turnovers and mistakes and like errant dump in, like a lot of icings, and they just did a really good job at pressuring Dallas and not allowing them to get anything going, and making it really kind of easy for Vasilevsky, because he had, like, what was the total shots that Dallas had in this series? 157, and Hudobin had 200.
Yeah,
201.
That's quite the discrepancy over 6 games. You're looking at like a 8 to 10 shot differential per game, basically.
Yeah, and
when
Hudobin was good, but he got a lot of harder shots, I think. Like
he did, and that's one of the things Tampa Bay excels at, is finding a way to get high quality chances. They've got such a good, especially their main offensive guys like Point and Kucherov. They can just create chances from high percentage scoring areas just by virtue of being on the ice. And you especially have like Point. He's really, really good at breaking into the slot and getting shots off from the high slot. And Kucherov loves to rip it from the circle there with his slap shot.
Yeah, and we saw Tampa Bay taking advantage of a lot of matchups while Point was out there, and there's some of their faster smaller guys, they really blew by a lot of the Dallas defense. So one guy in particular that I noticed got beat a lot was Essa Lindell. It seemed like he was trying to respect the offensive player, but he gave them way too much room and time, and they just go by him. They caught him flat-footed a bunch of times.
Yeah,
there was
Lindell
a lot
had
of
a bit of
goals
a rough series, but I mean, look who he's playing up against. He's playing 26 minutes a night in that series, and look who he's playing against, like Point Kucherov. Like that's a hard matchup to go 6 games on.
Yeah. I mean, he was second on the team in total ice time. Heiskanen was first. Lindell was second. Klingberg was third. All around 160, 155 minutes. And yeah, Lindell was just out there a lot. So it just, I'm not saying he's a bad defenseman, but he got burned on a few things, and there's a few goals where he tried to block it, and it just went off his stick and in, and it's tough. But Tampa's such a good team that, I mean, even if they had a guy like Hedman on Dallas, if he's playing that much, he's going to make some mistakes. I mean, even Hedman made some mistakes in this series on Tampa, just because of the fatigue factor, I think. But Tampa just took advantage of, guys catching guys out there like right after a change or after they've been out for a really long time, and just take advantage of their fatigue and just making them pay. And then that goes with drawing penalties and stuff too, right? Just making them make mistakes. They did a really exceptional job at that.
Yeah, one of the cool things, so they started using a lot of that player and puck tracking stuff through the playoffs, and one of the things that we saw a lot of was the shift tracker, and you very routinely would see Heiskanen and Klingberg out there for 2+ minutes at a time, where they've got the shift tracker, and like Tampa or Dallas is just hemmed in their own zone, and they cannot get a change in. They've got Heiskanen and Klingberg or whoever out there for 2-3 minutes at a time. And like that's a lot for one shift, especially when you're stuck in the D zone like that.
Yeah, they look tired a lot of the times, and then just making mental mistakes. Just not being able to clear the zone, or having a pass picked off, or shooting it out of the play, or just icing it.
Yeah, and going back to your comments about Dallas's active D, it's hard for defensemen like Heiskanen and Klingberg to actually utilize those skills when they can't even get past Tampa Bay's defensive lines. That Heiskanen will break into the zone, but he has nowhere to go because Tampa's covering the options for pass, and they're pressuring him. They're right on him. They're right up in his business. Like, he can't do anything with the puck. And he ends up turning it over, dumping it in, giving it away. Like, whatever happens there, they can't do anything with it. So that kind of shuts down a large part of their offense.
Just being hemmed in the zone for so long, and then not being able to break out with speed. That's so much of their game is to just skate it up the ice and cut through everybody. But when you're at the end of your shift, you can't do that, right? You got to get off, and it was just enormous pressure by Tampa Bay. They were so good at puck retrieval. Like, they looked like they just won every puck battle and every board battle, it seemed.
They knew where the puck was going to be, and they were just there.
Yeah, just a great performance from them, and I really think that Dallas missed a lot, like especially those 3 guys, like Hintz, Faxa, and Como, just hurt them quite a bit. Basically, missing a line kind of sucks.
A line and 3/4 of your penalty killers, basically.
Yeah, for sure. I guess on Tampa's side, like, we saw them utilize that pressure that Dallas was missing. Like, Anthony Cirelli was a guy that was noticeable every time he was out there. He only got 3 points in the series, but he was very physical.
Yeah, he does so much more than just score, and it's truly like a great way to learn or to see a forward playing all facets of the game. Like, he can score, but he doesn't have to. He's physical. He's engaged defensively. He just is all over the place.
He's just tenacious on the puck. Like, when there was a guy, didn't matter what end of the rink he was in, but he was just on them. Like, he just wouldn't give up. He was so tenacious, knocking down pucks and stick checking and body checking, and that's the kind of guy that you need on your team to
it's a great
make it hard for the other team to play and get anything going.
Yeah, a great complementary player, great depth player, like useful in any situation, just a great utility guy. I wanna move back to Game 3 here with the one key moment that I really feel was like a major momentum swing and major boost for Tampa Bay was Stamkos coming back. And just that moment of him, that moment in his 5 shifts in the series that he comes in, scores a goal on his shot, and leaves getting injured again. Like, how big was that for the team? Because that was sort of like the, no looking back after that moment. They just kind of had it and rolled after it.
Yeah. 1 shot, 1 goal, 100% shooting percentage in the series.
NHL record for points per 60 or something in the playoffs.
You saw like some videos on like Instagram and stuff of Stamkos doing like the pregame speech for that game, and it was just pretty cool. You could tell it's a pretty close group. A lot of the guys have been there for quite some time. So yeah, I think that must have been huge for them just to have him come back, and how meaningful he is for them. And then you saw him in the first period. He played 5 shifts. After his goal, he didn't really play again, but he stayed out there. He went to the room for a long time, but came back out on the bench, and he stayed on the bench the whole game. He was doing things like going over to the ref circle and asking questions when there was a discussion going on. So he was still engaged, cheering on his teammates, happy when they scored and all that sort of stuff, and talking to them on the bench. And it was just a great leader. I always kind of like to see that when a guy sticks around and stays on the bench, even though he's hurt. And it must be really hard for him mentally just to get back in it and makes an impact on the game, and then just know it's not right. And it came out that he had like a sports hernia surgery, right? And then he that was before the bubble, was healed up, and then developed a compensating injury somewhere else in his body, and then was ruled out for the rest of the series after that game. So he's expected to be back for next season, but that's tough mentally, and he's been hurt so many times before, and
his whole career, honestly, he's always like, he gets to a good point, like, and then he gets hurt, and like I think same thing happened with like his Olympic, both times he could have gone to the Olympics, he got hurt and missed it, stuff like that. And it's nice that it didn't work out for him, like he didn't get to play, but he was still able to be a huge part of that team from the dressing room, from the bench, and still help guide them to finally winning the cup, finally winning it for him. So I think that was a really amazing moment for the team, and it was kind of a cool little it was a cool little stretch for him to be able to take part in that in any way. And something I liked from him too is that they talked with Bettman and worked it out beforehand, that they did like the team picture with the cup before they actually awarded it to Stamkos. Because normally you go from like commissioner to the captain, and then you do all the skating, and then you take the photo. But they did that before they even handed it to Stamkos this time. They kind of gave the shout out to the team first, which I thought was a really cool little moment as well in there.
Yeah, that is pretty neat. And then I know we talked about this before during the playoffs, but Tampa Bay was just such a well put together team, and the additions that they made, the beginning of the season and even mid-season, just paid off so well for them.
I really like what Blake Coleman was providing through that series. He was another guy who was kind of all over the place. Like, if he was on the ice, you noticed him right away.
Barclay Goodrow was good. Defensive player, played PK. And then, we had like Zach Bogosian. I think he played game 1 and game 6. He when he came back, he looked good. You had Kevin Shattenkirk, who was bought out by the Rangers in the offseason and came in. Provided that OT game winner for them.
Yeah.
Crazy that a guy that got bought out came back and was so instrumental in this Cup Finals. And on the other team, Corey Perry, another guy who was bought out by the Anaheim Ducks, had a huge series. Like,
Yeah. So
he actually played really well.
what are your thoughts on Corey Perry's redemption arc through the series? Through this year, actually.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's redemption because he still did Corey Perry things, but it was cool. I mean, maybe like a redemption as far as like a return to, performance and not having to be the guy on a team, right?
Yeah.
Like a more minor role. Dallas's pickups were good too. I mean, they had Pavelski was huge.
Yeah, Pavelski kind of took
yeah.
over because the main guns on Dallas sort of died off a little bit through that series. I mean, they were hurt and matched up against really difficult opponents, but Pavelski and Perry kind of took charge of the team in that series, so it was really, really cool to see for them.
Yeah, Point led the playoffs with 14 goals, and Pavelski had Point had 14 and Pavelski had 13, so he was up there. He was playing a lot with Radulov and Ben near the end of the series, or to the middle and end of that series, because Sagan was just not making goals happen. He was making a lot of assists happen for game, I think 3 and 4, or 5, 4 and 5 maybe.
Yeah, because he assisted a lot of those goals
Corey Perry
and Pavelski scored in a row.
Yeah, there was a stretch of five or was it 6 goals where it was
6.
either Perry or Pavelski.
Yeah.
They scored all of them. So, the two of the 3 guys that they picked up in the offseason just as kind of, just free agent additions for pretty cheap contracts, stepped up huge for them. Andre Sekera, kind of like a depth D-man. He was good in the PK.
Yeah.
Serviceable D-man. But the offensive players definitely had a good series. Corey Perry. I thought he wasn't like as dirty as he has been, but he did spear Point in the nuts, I guess. So
well,
he's definitely
got to
not
do something. Like,
he's still Corey Perry. Like, he is still him. But he had a really good series. Getting back to Tampa's pickups, so let's not forget Pat Maroon here. It's a
2-time Stanley Cup champion Patrick Maroon.
Yeah, back to back.
Back to back. I'm
I
really
think
hoping he comes back to Edmonton this offseason.
That always helps. Yeah, and then you think it's going to go back to back to back?
Yeah, I could go for the three-peat. Patrick Maroon three-peat sounds good.
All right, well, wherever he ends up this offseason, put $10 down on them winning the Cup, and it'll probably have a huge payout.
Yeah, good call on that one.
Or he could get traded to a contender at the deadline. I don't think there's anyone that we're forgetting here for additions. We got Shattenkirk, Pat Maroon, Goodrow, Coleman,
Bogosian. I mean, Luke
Dallas
Shen, but he only
had all
played
guys.
1 game in the series there. So
yeah. So I mean, good on all those guys. So Victor Hedman, Conn Smythe. How do you feel about that?
Pretty good. I think Victor Hedman was an absolute force that whole time, and I think what he did on both sides of the puck and how he was like the heart and soul of that team. He kind of guided them a lot of the way through the playoffs, through the series. He's playing like 26 plus minutes a night, 7 points in the finals, like 10 goals in the playoffs from a defenseman. I think he's absolutely deserving of that recognition, and I think it's a testament to just how good of a defenseman he is, that he was able to put everything together and be such an absolute force on all sides of the puck, all over the place this series.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hedman's a great choice, and I love that a defenseman won it instead of a forward, because I think that defensemen just get no love in the NHL.
A lot of what they do is hard to quantify compared to the forward scoring, but luckily Hedman is able to put the offense there as well, so it kind of gave him a bit of an extra boost.
Yeah, I mean, Kucherov and Point had 30-plus points each, which is insane. Point led Stanley Cup playoffs for scoring, had a lot of clutch goals for them along the way, but Hedman is just, I think he is kind of the heart and soul of that team. You're totally right. The amount he does shutting things down and making, like, getting like a third assist or something, or like just sending a guy up ice with a huge pass. Or
he's so good at controlling the play, controlling the pace, controlling the tempo that he can just. He's got those game management skills that are so crucial to helping a team settle down, to helping them ramp up momentum, ramp up the pace of play, and it's the type of thing that helped Tampa Bay shut down anything Dallas tried, was being able to just completely control everything that's happening.
Yeah, and he's just led the team in ice time, and just an exceptional player. The voting was really close.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning. Hedman won the Conn Smythe with 70 vote points. He had 9 first-place votes, 8 second-place votes, and 1 third-place vote. Braden Point was second with 66 points, 8 first-place votes, 8 second-place votes, and 2 third-place votes. So Hedman won it by 1 vote, basically. Someone, one less first place and 1 more third place. Like, that's how close it was between those two. But, either way, it would have been an accurate or an appropriate trophy recipient, but I'm glad Hedman got it.
Yeah, I'm happy too. Like I said, I love when the D-men gets recognized for just how much they work and sacrifice, and like blocks and getting your puck or their stick on the puck on shots, and taking the body and boxing guys out and taking all that punishment from the net, and also being able to contribute offensively. As good as Point is, and how he did play some good defense at times, but Hedman's out there every single shift doing that, shutting people down. So just absolutely huge contribution to the team. So in the Conn Smythe, it usually comes down to like 2 guys, like every year basically. It's like it's going to be one of these 2 guys, and no matter who they decide it's going to be, there's always going to be people who are like, oh well, what about this guy? He did XYZ all playoffs, and I think that's better than this. And it's like, well, I don't think they ultimately care, the players. It's like, we won the cup. That was our goal, and some people voted on who was the best, whatever. It's not the trophy that they care about that as much, right? It's
like, of the 2 trophies being awarded in that 5-minute stretch, I don't think the Conn Smythe is the one they're particularly interested in. And the thing is, too,
it's like J.S. Jaguar wasn't as happy winning the Conn Smythe as he would have been to win the Stanley Cup, right? It's like you go, oh, okay, that's what I wanted.
I wanted the Conn Smythe.
Who wants the season thinking I want to win. Yeah,
it's like, screw you, teammates. I got the Conn Smythe. You got, and who cares about the cup?
Well, and when Crosby and Ovechkin won it, it's like there's arguments to be made that they shouldn't have won it. Like, they didn't get the most points. They. But they were the team. Like, they were the guy. And, like, it's kind of like the trophies for some personal awards. It's not always going to make sense, like, to everyone. It's just, as mad as I was that Jordan Carlson didn't win the Norris, like, I get it. Like, there's other reasons to win it. Like, there's being a more complete defenseman, or, being better at one part of the game that people value more, or whatever. Like, that's going to be the same for the Conn Smythe. So I think some people were questioning why Hedman should have won, but it's like, well, whatever. That doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
The important trophy got lifted a few minutes after that, so that's all that's really needed to be said.
Yeah, and we should note that I guess it doesn't matter if you pick up the Prince of Wales or whatever trophy.
So that's just kind of one of those old
Dallas
superstitions that that'll just kind of
Dallas
die
didn't
off now.
touch it, but Tampa did, and so it's doesn't matter.
Exactly. I think that adds to like the
John
five.
Cooper was right. We won a trophy. We're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna pick it up.
It's like, I won a trophy, gonna touch it. Who cares?
Yeah,
Good mentality to have.
exactly. Just be polite.
Yeah, don't be rude. Like, if someone gives you something, you might as well like touch it or at least show appreciation. Like,
Yeah, and I want to mention too that it's kind of sad that the NHL didn't pump in the booze.
that I was very disappointed in that. I was expecting it. I was hoping for it because it would just be a nice like environmental thing to have the booing pumped into the crowd, but there was nothing, and I was very disappointed watching the cup celebration.
Players should have just stepped up and booed.
That would have been kind of funny. You got Stamkos standing 2
promised.
feet from Bettman booing in his ear.
Boo. Now give us the cup.
Yeah.
Take a photo with us.
So that wraps things up for this time here on Clappercast. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to our show on any podcast platform. To keep up to date with the latest content, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Clappercast Media or on Twitter at Clappercast. What was your favorite part of the NHL playoffs this year? Let us know on our social media pages, and we'll be back soon with more hockey talk.